Hi, welcome once again to another new video. This is Santu Sahu and you are watching Sahu's tutorial. And in this tutorial video, I'll be covering some important MCQ questions along with explanation on English literature for the upcoming UGC NET exam. I'm conducting here 500 MCQ series for the upcoming UGC NET exam. This is part 2. In the previous part 1, in the previous video, I have discussed 1 to 24 questions along with explanation. So let's get started with this wonderful question. But before starting the session, I would like to request all of you, please do subscribe the channel and tap the bell icon to get more notification. And hit the like button as well. So here is the first question on your screen. I will begin with question number 25 because in the previous video I told that I have discussed 1 to 24 questions. 24 questions have been discussed in that video. So let's get started with this wonderful question. That is question number 25. So here the first question is on your screen. Let's get started. What was the title? What was the title of Truman Capote's unfinished novel which is published posthumously? So Truman Capote has written a novel that was incomplete, that was unfinished, and it was also published posthumously. Now your options are Summer Crossing, Other Voices, Other Rooms, Answered Prayers, The Last Tycoon. So here the right option is Answered Prayers. The novel Answered Prayers was incomplete as well as it was published posthumously. So here C is right option. And here is the explanation. Answered Prayers is an unfinished novel by the American author Truman Capote, and it was published posthumously in the year 1986. In England, in the 1987, it was published in United States. And here is that the title of the book refers to a quote that Truman Capote chose as an epigraph, that is, more tears are shed over answered prayers than unanswered ones. So moving on to question number 26. Which of the following actress played the lead role in the film adaptation of Breakfast at Tiffany? So Breakfast at Tiffany is one of the magnum opus novel written by Truman Capote. Truman Capote's here, which of the following actress has played the lead role in the film adaptations of Breakfast at Tiffany's? And your options are Audrey Hepburn, Elizabeth Taylor, Marilyn Monroe, and Grace Kelly. So here the right option is Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn has played the lead role, the actress who has played the lead role in the film adaptations of Breakfast at Tiffany's. And here is the explanation. Audrey Hepburn played the lead role of Holly Golightly, and Holly Golightly was the main protagonist of that novel and Audrey Hepburn has played the lead role of Holly Golightly in the film adaptations of Breakfast at Tiffany's, which was released in 1961. Moving on to question number 27. What is the title of Thomas Wolfe's first novel? Thomas Wolfe was one of the famous novelists of American literature in the domain of American literature. And what is the title of Thomas Wolfe's first novel or the debut novel? So Thomas Wolfe's debut novel is Of Time and the River, Look Homeward Angel, The Wave and the Rock, You Can't Go Home Again. So here Thomas Wolfe's debut novel or the first novel was Look Homeward Angel. Look Homeward Angel. So here B is right option. B is right option. Thomas Wolfe's first novel was Look Homeward Angel, and it is all about Eugene Gant. Eugene Gant. So here Look Homeward Angel is a novel by American author Thomas Wolfe, and it was published in the year 1929. And the novel follows the life of Eugene Gant, who is a young man growing up in the fictional town of Altamont, North Carolina, during the early 20th century. So here the Look Homeward Angel is the debut novel, and it is all about the life of Eugene Gant, who is a young man growing up in the fictional town called Altamont, North Carolina, during the 20th century. Okay, moving on to question number 28. A ship glint in French fields. A ship glint in French fields by Tarudat and Arudat. So they are sisters. Each a collection of French poems, 100, 150, 80, 160 poems. So a ship glint in French fields. These are it is a collection of 165 poems. It is a collection of 165 poems. It's a collection of 165 poems, and this was actually translated into English from French by Tarudat. So here 165 is the right option, and here is the explanation that a ship glint in French fields was published in 1876 without a preface or an introduction, and it's 165 poems. So this collection contains 165 poems are translated from French into English by Dutt, except for one poem composed by her, A Month Fair. That is, an eight poems were translated by her sister as well. Okay, Here is question number 29. Robert Frost's first volume of poems entitled Dash was first published in England. So, what was the first volume of poems entitled Dash was first published in England? So, north of Boston, a boy's will, a New Hampshire mountain interval. So, Robert Frost's first volume of poems was A Boy's Will, and it was first published in England. So here B is the right option. A Boy's Will is the first volume of poems written by Robert Frost, and here is the explanation. The Robert Frost's first volume of poems was titled A Boy's Will and was published in 1913, and it contains many of Frost's best known poems and most anthologist poems, just like including Into My Own Mind or The Tuft of Flowers and Ghost House. These are the famous poems of the first volume of poetry, that is collection, that is A Boy's Will. Okay, moving on to question number 30. Truman Capote's novel, that is in Cold Blood, is a true crime story about what? So Truman Capote's novel In Cold Blood is a true crime story about a bank robbery, a murder case, a political scandal, a kidnapping. So Truman Capote's novel In Cold Blood is a true crime story about a murder case, Clatter family, the murder of a Clatter family. So murder case, and here is the explanation. Truman Capote's novel In Cold Blood is a true crime story that recounts the brutal murders of the Clatter family, a wealthy and well-respected family living in Holcomb, Kansas. On the night of the November 15, 1959, 4 members of the Clatter family were shot and they were killed in their home by 2 ex-convicts, Richard Dick Hickok and Perry Smith, who had hoped to rob the family of their non-existent fortune. And he was accompanied by his childhood friend and fellow author Harper Lee. So Harper Lee, his friend, another novelist, contemporary novelist of Truman Capote, had helped him to write this In Cold Blood. So author Harper Lee and they interviewed residents and the investigators assigned to case and took the thousands of pages of notes. So he was accompanied by his childhood friend and the fellow author called Harper Lee. Harper Lee also had helped Truman Capote to write the novel In Cold Blood. Okay, moving on to question 31. That is Casanova's Chinese Restaurant. Casanova's Chinese Restaurant is a novel by Anthony Ho, Anthony Powell, Anthony Trollope, none of these. So Casanova's Chinese Restaurant is a novel written by Anthony Powell. Anthony Powell has written Casanova's Chinese Restaurant. So here B is right option. And here is the explanation. That is Casanova's Chinese Restaurant is a novel by Anthony Powell, and it forms the 5th volume of the 12-volume sequence, A Dance to the Music of Time, and was originally published in 1960. So here, the Casanova's Chinese Restaurant, it forms the 5th volume of the 12-volume sequence of. So it is the 5th volume of the 12-volume sequence of A Dance to the Music of Time, and it was originally published in 1960. So Casanova's Chinese Restaurant is a novel written by Anthony Powell. Moving on to question number 32, which of the under-mentioned books contains much of the background material for E.M. Foster's novel A Passage to India? So there is a novel that contains much of the background material. That means that novel has influenced E.M. Foster to write the novel A Passage to India. Avenger Harvest, Two Cheers for Democracy, aspects of the novel, The Heel or The Heel of Devi. So yeah, the right option is The Heel of Devi. The Heel of Devi has helped E.M. Foster to write his magnum opus novel, A Passage to India. And here is the explanation. The Heel of Devi is an account of E.M. Foster who visits to India 1912 to 1913 and in 1921, during which he worked as a private secretary to Tukajio III and Maharaja of the state of Dewas Senior. Foster derived inspiration for the book from the famous hilltop temple of the Hindu mother goddess Devi, and the story is based in a pre-independence India in a non-descriptive kingdom in the central part of the country, Devas, and the book offers an insight into the life of an Indian royalist as it skillfully revolves around the internal feud between the two sections of the ruling family of Devas. And in 1924 novel, The Passage to India could be read along with this book. So the Heel of Devi has influenced E.M. Foster to write his another famous work, that is the Passage to India. Okay. Question number 33. Affection may one day smile again. Until then, sit thee down sorrow. Affection may one day smile again. Until then, sit thee down sorrow. This lines belongs to Shakespeare's which play? Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, no, Love, Lovers Lost, or Antony and Cleopatra. So these lines appear in the play Love, Lovers Lost. And so C is the right option. And here is the explanation. The specific trait, that is affection may one day Smile again. Until then, sit thee down. Sorrow is often used as a stand-alone quote and means that even though you may be feeling sorrowful or heartbroken now, eventually things will get better. It will be changed, and you should be patient and wait for that time. So you should wait for that time, for the better time. So 34. Both are lyric poems in the form of plays. Both are lyric poems in the form of plays. About which poems of Milton does Thomas Macaulay say this? Paradise Lost and Paradise Regent? No. El Allegro or El Penseroso? No. Lycidas and on Shakespeare? No. Or Comas and Samson Agonistes. So it is Comas and Samson Agonistes. Both are lyric poems in the form of plays. So Macaulay has told that Comas and Samson Agonistes are lyric poems in the forms of plays. So here D is the right option. Who was the editor of the Scrutiny? T.S. Eliot, F.R. Lewis, Wyndham Lewis, none of these. So here the editor of Scrutiny was F.R. Lewis. F.R. Lewis was the editor of the Scrutiny journal. Orwell's experiences as a police officer. George Orwell's experiences as a police officer in Burma are recounted in some of his essays, like Literature and Totalitarianism, Inside the Veil, Shooting an Elephant, or Down the Mine. So Orwell's experience as a police officer in Burma are recounted in some of his essays, and the right option is here Shooting an Elephant. Shooting an elephant is about his real experience. So here C is the right option. Okay, moving on to question number 37. Which of the following films was based on Truman Capote's story? Which of the following films was based on Truman Capote's stories? The Great Gatsby, no. To Kill a Mockingbird, The Graduate, or none of the above. So here the film that was based on Truman Capote's story is To Kill a Mockingbird, and To Kill a Mockingbird is a magnum opus novel written by Harper Lee. And Harper Lee and Truman Capote, they were friends, childhood friends, and the fellow author. So the book, a film that is based on Truman Capote's story is a To Kill a Mockingbird, and where the character Bill, Bill is the Truman Capote. That is To Kill a Mockingbird. The film adaptation was based on Harper Lee's novel, but Capote was a childhood friend of Lee's and served as a source of inspiration for the character Dill. And Dill was the main protagonist of To Kill a Mockingbird, and Truman Capote was a childhood friend and Lee's, and served as a source of inspiration for the character Dill. Okay, moving on to question number 38. Who is the central figure in Graham Greene's novel, Heart of the Matter? Who is the prime figure, the central figure in Graham Greene's novel, The Heart of the Matter? Pink Brown, Moiras Bendrix, Major Scobie, or Fowler? So in The Heart of the Matter, the main protagonist, the major who is sympathetic, is Major Scobie. Major Scobie is the right answer. Major Scobie is the central figure, the prime central figure of Graham Greene's novel, The Heart of the Matter. And here is the explanation. The Heart of the Matter is the story of a gentle character named Major Henry Scobie, the protagonist of the novel, who is depicted as a sympathetic character in his relationship with his wife Lucy and with his mistress Helen, and in his relationship with God. And Major Henry Scobie is a long-time police deputy, was a commissioner and a protagonist of the novel that is called The Heart of the Matter, written by Graham Greene. Moving on to question 39. Polly Oblivion. Polly Oblivion is a topographical poem. It's topographical poem. So Polly Oblivion is a long poem by Sir Philip Sidney, Michael Drayton, George Chapman, Thomas Dekker. So here, Polly Oblivion is a long poem written by Michael Drayton. Michael Drayton has written Polly Oblivion is a long poem. It's a long topographical poem. And here is the explanation. The Polly Oblivion, okay, the topographical poem describing England and Wales, written by Michael Drayton and published 1612. So the Polly Oblivion is a topographical poem describing England and Wales, written by Michael Drayton. And the Polly Oblivion is divided into 30 songs written in Alexandrian couplets, consisting in total of almost 15,000 lines of verse. Okay, moving on to question number 40. Dryden wrote a poem that's to celebrate the return of Charles II. Dryden had written a poem just to celebrate the return of Charles II. The options are Annus Mirabilis, Max Fligno, The Medal, Astrea Redux. So here, this Astrea Redux. Dryden wrote Astrea Redux to celebrate the return of Charles II. And here is the explanation. Astrea Redux, written by John Donne in 1660, the royalist panegyric in which Dryden welcomes the new regime of King Charles II. Moving on to question number 41. Here is an essay by which literature and totalitarianism literature and totalitarianism is an essay by T.S. Eliot, no. F.R. Lewis, no. William Lewis, no. George Orwell has written the essay called Literature and Totalitarianism. Okay, moving on to question 42. Which famous author was a mentor to Thomas Wolfe, the American novelist? Who was the mentor to Thomas Wolfe? Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, William Faulkner, no. Sherwood Anderson. So it was Sherwood Anderson. Sherwood Anderson was the mentor was a mentor to Thomas Wolfe, the American novelist. So here D is right option. Moving on to question number 43. Which of the following works is not written by J.R.R. Tolkien? So which of the following works is not written by J.R.R. Tolkien? Your options: The Hobbit. Hobbit was written by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Lord of the Rings was also written by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Chronicles of Narnia or the Silmarillion. So here the Silmarillion was also written by J.R.R. Tolkien. So J.R.R. Tolkien has written The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion, whereas the Chronicles of Narnia is a classic children literature. It's a classic children literature book and it was written by C.S. Lewis. The Chronicles of Narnia is the right option. It is not written by J.R.R. Tolkien, and the Chronicles of Narnia was written by C.S. Lewis. So here is the explanation. The Chronicles of Narnia is a series of 7 high fantasy novels by British author C.S. Lewis, and the series set in the fictional realm of Narnia, a fantasy world of magic, a mythical beast, and talking animals. So here it is narrating the adventures of the various children who play central roles in the unfolding history of the Narnian world. Except in the horse and his boy, the protagonists are all children from the real world who are magically transported to Narnia, where they are sometimes called upon by the lion Aslan to protect Narnia from evil. And so it was a children literature, children novel. Because the following statements is true about Truman Capote's personal life. He was openly gay. He was married 3 times. He had 4 children. He was a devout Christian. So Truman Capote was openly gay. So here A is right option. He was openly gay. Moving on to question 45. In his autobiographical novel, that is Sons in the Lovers, Lawrence is represented by which character? William Morel, no. Walter Morel, no. Paul Morel, none of these. So William, that is Lawrence was, D.S. Lawrence was in his autobiographical novel Sons and Lovers, D.S. Lawrence is represented by the character Paul Morel. So Paul Morel represents D.S. Lawrence in the autobiographical novel Sons and Lovers. So here C is right option. Moving on to question 46. Satires of Circumstance. The Satire of Circumstance is a dash by Thomas Hardy. It's a novel? No. Collection of short stories? No. Collection of poems? A play? No. So it's a collection of poems. The Satires of Circumstance is a collection of poems written by Thomas Hardy. So here is the explanation. Satires of Circumstances is a collection of poems by the English poet Thomas Hardy, and it was published in the year 1914. And it includes 18 poems 1912 to 1913 on the death of Hardy's wife Emma, extended to the now classic 21 poems in the collected poems of 1919, widely regarded to comprise the best work of his poetic career. So by the way, Satires of Circumstance is a collection of poems by the English poet Thomas Hardy, and it was published in the year 1914. Moving on to question number 47. Which of the poets mentioned below does not belong to the Warden group? Does not belong to the Warden group. Louis Mackniss group, he belongs. Dylan Thomas does not belong. Cecil Deluge belongs. Stephen Spender also belongs. So Louis Mackniss, Cecil Deluge, Stephen Spender, and Auden. So they are all, and sometimes Christopher Isherwood. They are all 30s poets or the Warden group of poets. Whereas Dylan Thomas does not belong to this category. So Dylan Thomas is the right option. Does not belong. So Dylan Thomas does not belong. And here is the expansion of the Warden group, or the Warden generation, the group of British writers active in 1930s that included W. Jordan, Louis Mackniss, Cecil Deluge, Stephen Spender, and I told that Christopher Isherwood, sometimes Edward Abbott and Rex Warner also included. They were sometimes called simply the 30s poets. And here is the term that is coined by Roy Campbell in his work Talking Bronco. So Roy Campbell in his work Talking Bronco, he has invented a term that is Max Pondy. Max stands for Louis Mackniss, whereas SP stands for Spender, and AUN stands for Auden, whereas D stands for Cecil Deluge. In 1946 work that is Talking Bronco, who has invented Roy Campbell to designate a composite figure made up of 4 poets, that is the 1930s poets or the Auden generation group of poets or Auden group of poets. Moving on to question number 48. That is the Lay of the Last Minstrel. It's a lengthy poem by Byron Scott Gray Landor. So it's a narrative lengthy poem. It's a lengthy poem. The Lay of the Last Minstrel. It's a lengthy poem written by Scott. Walter Scott has written The Lay of the Last Minstrel, and it's a narrative poem. It's a lengthy poem. And here it explains the Lay of the is a narrative poem in 6 cantos with copious antiquarian notes by Walter Scott. And set in the Scottish borders in the mid 16th century, it is represented within the works as being sung by the minstrel in 1960s. In 1660s. So the Lay of the Minstrel is a narrative poem in 6 cantos written by Walter Scott. Others abide our question, thou art free. Others abide our question and thou art free. Matthew Arnold wrote about which author? Dante no, Homer no, Milton no, Shakespeare. So it is Shakespeare. So Matthew Arnold here is referring talking to Shakespeare. So talking about Shakespeare. So D is adoption, and this is the opening line of the poem Shakespeare. So Matthew Arnold has written a poem called Shakespeare, and this is the opening line of the poem called Shakespeare written by Matthew Arnold. And here is the line here. Shakespeare, a poem written by Matthew Arnold, and here is the opening line. Others abide our question, thou art free. We ask and ask thou simple. This is the first stanza of the poem. So it was written by Matthew Arnold, Shakespeare, where the lines appear. Also saw who only stand and wait. This line belongs to Milton's poem. The Nightingale, no. On its blindness, song on a May morning, no. On the morning of Christ's nativity, no. So they also saw who only stand and wait. This is the ending line of the poem called On His Blindness. On His Blindness. This is the ending line, the concluding line of the poem, that is On His Blindness. So here B is the adoption, and On His Blindness also is known as When I Consider Only How My Light Is Spent. It is also known as Sonnet 19. It is also known as Sonnet 19. Sonnet 19 or When I Consider How My Light Is Spent or On His Blindness is often the best known of the sonnets of John Milton. And Sonnet 19 or When I Consider How My Light Is Spent, and this is the concluding line that when I consider how my light is spent, thousands at his building speed and post overland and ocean without taste, they also serve who only stand and wait. So this is the ending line, this is the concluding line of the poem called When I Consider How My Light Is Spent, which is also known as On His Blindness, and it is the sonnet number 19, which is the most popular done by John Milton. Moving on to question 51. Whom does the Red Cross Knight in the Fairy Queen represented by Spenser? So Spenser's Fairy Queen, whom does in Spenser's Fairy Queen, whom does the Red Cross Knight signify or represent? Saint George and the Anglican Church, or Saint Sir Walter Raleigh, King Arthur, Henry IV of France. So it was Saint George and the Anglican Church. It was Saint George and the Anglican Church. So the Red Cross Knight is representing Saint George and the Anglican Church. E is right option variant. Who among the under mentioned poet is regarded as mentioned as the poet's poet? Who is called as the poet's poet? Chaucer, Milton, Spenser, Shakespeare. So it was Spenser. Spenser is known as the poet's poet. So here C is the right option. Moving on to question 53. The Ascent of F6 is a novel probably written by Stephen Spencer, Louis Macnish, Dylan Thomas, W. Jordan. So the Ascent of F6, this was written by W. Jordan. W. Jordan has written the Ascent of F6, and it was written in collaboration with Christopher Isherwood. The Ascent of F6, a tragedy in 2 acts. The Ascent of F6, a tragedy in 2 acts. So this is a play. This is a play actually by W. Jordan and Christopher Isherwood. Was the second and the most successful play in the Jordan-Isherwood collaboration. First published in 1936. It was a major contribution to English poetic drama in 1930s. So I told that it was a novel, but it is not a novel. It is a play. That is the Ascent of F6, a tragedy in 2 acts. It was written in collaboration with Christopher Isherwood. W. Jordan has written this play in collaboration with Christopher Isherwood. Okay. And here is a question number 54. Seasons is a dash by Ben Jonson, by comedy, masque, historical tragedy, poetic play. So Ben Jonson has also written a tragedy that is called Sejanus, and it is a historical tragedy. Sejanus is a historical tragedy written by Ben Jonson. 54 ka C right answer. Moving on to question number 55. Who contributed the largest number of papers to the Spectator? The largest number of papers were contributed in the Spectator by Addison, Steele, Swift, Dr. Samuel Johnson. So it was Joseph Addison. Joseph Addison had contributed the largest number of papers to the Spectator. And here is the explanation. The Spectator comprises 555 issues published daily except Sunday from March 1711 to 1712. Alas, 80 further numbered issues published thrice weekly by Addison alone from June 18 to December 20, 1714. By the way, Of the original 550 issues, Steele was responsible for 251, whereas Addison was responsible for 274. So here, Addison was the person who had contributed the most. Moving on to question number 57. America is my country and Paris is my hometown. Which American writers have said this? Okay. America is my country and Paris is my hometown. Edith Wharton, no. Gertrude Stein, Henry James, Theodore Dreiser. So it was Gertrude Stein. Gertrude Stein has said that America is my country and Paris is my hometown. So 56 का B right answer है. Moving on to question number 57. Which of these is not of Virginia Woolf? Okay. Which of these novels is not by Virginia Woolf? Orlando is a novel written by Virginia Woolf. Where Night and Day is also a novel written by Virginia Woolf. The Years was also written by the Virginia Woolf, whereas Star was written by Wyndham Lewis. Wyndham Lewis has written the novel called Tar, and here is the explanation. The Tar is a modernist novel by the Wyndham Lewis, written in 1909 to 1911, revised and expanded in 1914 to 15, and first released in the magazine called The Egoist from April 1916 until November 1917. Moving on to question number 58. Which magazine did T.S. Eliot edit? So T.S. Eliot edited the Spectator, Criterion, the Examiner, none of this. So T.S. Eliot has edited the Criterion. So T.S. Eliot has edited the Criterion magazine. B is right option. Moving on to question number 59. Which of the following novels is not by Henry James? Roderick Hudson is a novel written by Henry James. The Bostonians is also written by Henry James. The American is also written by Henry James. Whereas Roderick Random was written by The Adventures of Roderick Random. This is a picaresque novel written by Tobias Smollett. Tobias Smollett has written Roderick Random. So here B is the right option. It was not written by Henry James. Henry James had not written the novel The Adventures of Roderick Random, whereas Henry James has written the novels like Roderick Hudson, The Bostonians, and the American. And here is the explanation. The Adventures of Roderick Random is a picaresque novel by Tobias Smollett, and it's first published in 1748. It's partially based on Smollett's experience as a naval surgeon on Maid. So it is based on partially Tobias Smollett's experience as a naval surgeon made in the Royal Navy, especially during the Battle of the Cartagena de Indias in 1741. In the preface, Tobias Smollett acknowledged the construction of his novel to the two satirical picaresque works as it translated into English, that is My Good Servant is Don Quixote, as well as Alan Lesgie's Gil Blas. And to wind up the session, here is the question number 60. Wind up the session, here is the question number 60. Today's last question, question number 60 here. It is with that. It is with whom that English genius first fishes into English fiction. About whom is it said? Okay. It is with whom that English genius first fishes into English fiction. About whom is it said? Richardson, no, Bunyan, Defoe, Fielding. So it was about John Bunyan. Thank you once again for watching the video. Do subscribe the channel and tap the bell icon to get more notification that I will upload in future. Thank you.